You were listening to From Sobriety to Recovery with Jesse Mogul, episode 122. Let's get to the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to From Sobriety to Recovery. I am your host, Jesse Mogul, and I am in addiction recovery. Another beautiful week. Coming at you a little bit later than I normally do in the week. It's just been so chaotic. We launched the 5-day challenge, the winning formula, last week. This week has been all about application and evaluation. We've been doing tons of hot seat coaching, absolutely complimentary for anyone who joins. I'm going to be putting the Voxer group link into my bio so that you'll be able to join the Voxer group that we've called the winning formula, and where we go there and we really talk through and help people out with any kind of challenges that are going on in their lives. We obviously we're bringing inspiration, and we inspire you to find that internal motivation within yourself to start to achieve what it is you desire in your life. And obviously with 3 NLP master practitioners, but we all separately have done different things with it, you get amazing perspectives. As always, if there's any interest at all that you have in learning neuro-linguistic programming, of which I talk about all the time, I am starting up my next round of those classes at the end of July, beginning of August. So please DM me for more details. We'll set up a call. I do have an assistant now, so she is the one who answers my social media requests at the beginning, and then she sends them along my way once she's got them on the calendar, or once she's helped understand what your question might be. So whatever's going on, DM me at From Sobriety to Recovery, at Jesse Mogul. If you'd like to learn NLP, I've got amazing offers there for the people who find me through the From Sobriety to Recovery podcast. Absolutely would love to teach you NLP. Where it can take your mind, where it can take your body, where it can take your life is just beyond anything I could even begin to explain. When I discovered it in my 3rd month of sobriety and recovery, and then really began to learn it in my 9th month, everything changed. And I've taught it to at least 20 different people. I think my tribe's about 20 or 30 just from the podcast alone. And the changes, the transformations, the growth within each individual is through the moon. And I couldn't be happier. For all of my tribe members out there who listen to this, the Wise Mind Empowerment online experience is available if you'd like to really start to dive in deep and you'd like to do it at a self-paced way. And then, of course, there's all the other ways that you can be involved. I don't want to turn this first 5 minutes into just Jesse talking about all the things that he has to offer. But if there's one thing I keep hearing from people, it's that you don't tell us how to get in touch with you. You don't tell us what you're doing and how we can become more involved. So that's it. You can become more involved that way. DM me and let me know what's going on in your life. Let me know challenges that are happening, and we'll figure out a way to get you on the calendar. We'll work through those. And so what did I want to talk to today? Right? Normally there's a lot going on in my life, and there has been. It's one of the reasons why this show's coming out later in the week. And everything that we learned at the winning formula, putting together that program, getting amazing feedback, getting the pros and cons out of the way so that we could really begin to grow this into something that I think will be very powerful. I very much think that I can change worlds. I can change lives with the things that I teach, because it's changed my life first and foremost, and then the people in the tribe and the people who write in say very similar things. So embrace all of this with an open mind. Embrace everything in life with this growth mindset. Instead of seeking to judge right or wrong, seek to understand. And so let's talk about some ways that we can begin to expand our mind beyond where it currently is, right? There's always expansion. To me, our brain is much like the universe. The universe continues to expand. Yes, the Big Bang happened like 5 billion years ago, but the universe continues to expand. I don't necessarily know how it continues to expand. At some point, you think there would be no more space. But Neil deGrasse Tyson, one of the things he said on Bill Maher not too long ago was, hey, you know what? Sometimes in life, things are just not explainable, and I'm okay with that. So how is it that the space continues to expand? Beyond me. How is it that the brain can continue to expand? Beyond me. Don't necessarily always understand it, and that's okay. Instead, I just want to enjoy the fact that it does expand, that it does grow, that I can take in new information. I can change my life in an instant if I choose to make it so. So then I thought, oh, you know what's been fun? I have this calendar that one of my peers, who's also a client, she sent to me for Christmas. And I don't know who the calendar is. Maybe it's Hayes or something like that. I honestly don't know because there's nowhere on it is there like a name. But anyways, it's this really cool calendar that just says like really awesome inspirational things every single day. And some of them really speak to me. And so I put them in their own little clip and I hang them on my wall below my daily calendar. And some of them are just, they're good, but they're not necessarily the ones that speak to me. So I thought, why don't I read through some of these? When I first started setting these aside, that was my first inclination was, well, not only is this going to be cool for me to remind myself, but one day I'll do a whole episode where I just go through these quotes and I talk about how we can utilize them to expand our own lives. It was something I was telling Kaylin, one of my tribal members the other day, was that when I go to read something, when I go to integrate something new into my own life, into my own mind, I don't just go into it saying, oh, this is going to be great. I wonder how it can change my life. I go into it to learn to teach it. And he asked me, have I done this all my life or just in my sobriety and recovery? And I look back, and even in high school and college, I would want to learn things at a level that allowed me to be intelligent enough to talk about them in public where I didn't feel like I was making things up or saying things that were factually incorrect. So in a way, this driver to learn something at a level where I could teach it has been apparent and has presented itself in my life for a long time. Looking back even to video games and baseball cards when I was a kid, I very much wanted to know enough that if people asked me questions, I would give them the right answer. And so I do that now. When I read The War of Art, Untethered Soul, Characters Carved in Stone, Think Yourself Happy, Mindset, when I read these books and I listen to these books, I don't just do it for me. I listen for things I can bring to you guys. So it didn't surprise me that when I got this calendar, I immediately thought, how many of these would really be awesome for the show? So let's dive into some of them because this intro has already gotten us to about 8 minutes. And I told myself, I've got to keep this under 30 minutes. Today's to-do list is a mile long. So one of the ones that I'm going to read them in the order that from the newest back, and I'm not even going to begin to touch upon all of these. This will probably just be a few. So let's get into Wednesday, June 30th. It said, limitations are merely opportunities to grow. I use them as stepping stones to success. Think about that. Not only did I just realize that these could be awesome Instagram posts, but I also love the way saying it out loud to you guys on the microphone makes me internalize it a different way. Limitations are merely opportunities to grow. I use them as stepping stones to success. Where in your life are you saying things like, I don't know how to do that? That's not something I can do. And instead, you could be saying, I don't know how to do that yet. You can start to notice the power of yet. I have a whole speech called The Power of Yet. I once did it at a young people in recovery meeting because I just cannot get over how, not them, not these people in YPR, but just people in general will just limit themselves based on what they've been able to accomplish in the past. You don't want to make your future from the past because that's who you were. When we're in addiction recovery, right, when we step into sobriety, if we say, well, I'm only capable of the things that I was previously capable of before I got sober, then we're vastly limiting ourselves to what we're truly capable of because we were not our best selves when we were using. So when you find a limitation in your life around your communication, around your physical fitness, around your mental acuity, around your emotional intelligence, that's a beautiful cue for you to put some attention toward that. It's not difficult to put attention towards your personal growth. We're living every day, right? We're either growing in the sunshine or dying in the shade. You have the choice. Time is moving regardless. Time moves irrelevant of the amount of effort you're putting into your life. Days and seconds and hours, they click by. You don't have control over time moving. You do have control over how you're going to utilize it. You do have control over noticing a limitation in your communication with your loved ones and then stopping right there and saying, you know what? I don't think I'm communicating as effectively as I would desire to or as I would like to. So let me restart this conversation. Let me take back what I just said and let me actually be more calm, be more emotionally grounded, and bring you a legitimate way for us to connect right now. Communication is the most important thing that we do as humans, right? Whether it's to ourselves in our own head with that little roommate who never shuts up inside of our own minds, or whether it's the people in our lives. So generally, when you start to ask yourself, where do I have limitations in my life? Probably don't have to look too much further than how is it that you communicate to yourself, to your loved ones, to your coworkers, to strangers, to acquaintances, right? Like, are you generally nice to the person at the deli counter who cuts your meat, or are you sharp and nasty to them, right? There's a limitation there. You can now expand through it because we've discussed it. Let's go through. I honestly did not plan which one of these I'm going to read, so I'm just going to sort of sit here. Ooh, okay, so maybe I just go in order. Anyways, June 29th. I am on a path where positive thinking and an optimistic attitude guide all my choices. Are you utilizing your positive thinking, right? There's a reason I finished the show with the power of positive energy, release and flow. Cool little sidebar story about that. My Aunt Paula in Oklahoma City used to live near this place. It had treasures in the name. Maybe it was called Mystic Treasures, something of that nature. And you walk in through this front door and all of a sudden, like, there's all these books about mysticism or yoga or Buddhism or witchcraft, whatever, right? Like, it's one of those books, it's one of those bookstore type places that's just got, really, really interesting books if you're into this kind of stuff. And then there was crystals and there was incense and there was dream catchers. You all have been inside of a place that has, like, underneath the counter by the register, it's got all these different kinds of stones, all of our different chakra stones and stuff like that. I loved this store. In this store was a basket with all of these cards on it. And in these cards, all face down, you were allowed to just take one. And so remember, we came and we visited one holiday, and I took one, and it was the word flow. And I thought, well, that's really cool. I was like, and I've always been very positive, optimistic. Always, let's not necessarily use that word, but absolutely when my mom got sick, I started to seek out ways to see her Crohn's, to see that her colostomy bag, when it would break open at the zoo or the grocery store, like, see a positive in that. I saw, wow, look, that we were just doing normal things. Now her colostomy bag is broken open, and now there's a bit of chaos. How can I control this chaos? How can I help my mother get cleaned up so we can go about our time at the zoo? So I turned it into more of a positive thing, like, ooh, I get to experience what it's like to handle an emergency, and let's see how good I can help handle this emergency. So I very much brought a positive energy into that. So the power of positive energy was something that I talked about a lot, even as a kid. I was always like, yeah, let's have a positive energy about this. Let's have a positive energy. So when I picked up that card that said flow, I was like, oh, wow, the power of positive energy. If you have positive energy, your life flows. And it just made complete sense to me. So that became like my own little saying. It was probably the first saying I ever invented in my life. And then we went back a year later to visit my aunt, and we went back to the same store because we always visited that store when we came to town. And I went back to the basket and I picked up another one, and that one said release. And so immediately it's like the saying just got in my head. I was like, oh my goodness, if you have the power of positive energy, if you release it, your life will flow. It will flow for others. And it became my thing, the power of positive energy, release and flow. I had it engraved on many different things. I think my very first iPod I ever bought, if you ordered it off the Apple website, you could have an engraving, like a name on the back of it. I chose to have the power of positive energy, release and flow engraved onto the back of it. I've had keychains. There's some place, I think it was called Nature's Treasures. Anyways, there's a place in a mall that will engrave things on crap. I've had that saying engraved on things. So I hope you've enjoyed that sidebar story there. So that's how the power of positive energy, release and flow became a thing for me. I went and picked up a card one year. It said flow. The next year I came back, it said release. And that just became my thing. The power of positive energy, release and flow. It's why I say it all the time. And it's why I highly recommend that you guys start to feel it. And so when June 29th, when it says, I'm on a path where positive thinking and an optimistic attitude guide all my choices, I just choose to see the good in people. I just choose to see the opportunity for growth in every situation. And again, every universal qualifier, definitives like that, let's reel those in a little bit, Jess. I seek to notice these in opportunities that come about. Do I always see it? No, I'm a human. I can fall back on the same internal programming that anybody else can, where it's like, oh God, here we go again, or not right now. My whole day was flowing and now it's all gone to shit. All right. I seek to look at things through a positive scope and an optimistic attitude. And this calendar reminded me that that's what I want to be doing every single day. The power of positive energy, release and flow. I don't know if I've ever told that story to anyone, let alone on the microphone. Friday, June 25th. I am never stuck, for I can always choose new thoughts and new ways of thinking. Right? This goes back to CT FAR. We talk about it a lot at the tribal meetings. Circumstances, thoughts, feelings, actions, results. Right? A lot of the time people think feelings come before thoughts because the brain makes meaning out of everything so fast that we forget that that part happens. An external stimuli comes in through our five senses: touch, taste, sight, sound, and smell. And it goes immediately to the amygdala in the middle part of the brain, where I call that the emotional ghetto. It gets tagged with all of these emotions from previous experiences and memories and your personality traits. And then it gets to the prefrontal cortex, the front of your brain, where rational thinking can get involved. So a lot of people think that feelings come first, when in reality, the external stimuli immediately creates some sort of internal picture or movie in your head that becomes the stimuli that you make a meaning around, and then emotional ghetto into the prefrontal. So without, whether you like all the sciencey stuff or not, I just did it. So you can choose new thoughts and new ways of thinking. Yes, something is making a meaning in your head, but you can actively decide to have it start making a different meaning. It doesn't have to keep making the same meaning that it's always made for you. Different meanings can exist, and you can actively choose, like, oh, I see a homeless person asking for money. Instead of thinking that they're lazy and they should go get a job, you could have empathy and I wonder what's happened in their life that has created this existence for them. Because no one really ever was born as a child saying, boy, I hope one day I'm eating out of garbage cans and begging people for money. Right? That every day I wake up wondering where I'm going to get my next glass of water or where I'm going to go to the bathroom. That's not something people strive for. So what has occurred in their life that has led them down this path? Right? You can choose to have a new way of thinking, a new thought around that. And then every time that external stimuli of seeing a homeless person comes up, if you feel the negative energy around it, you can just choose to shift it to positive. And like any other habit, depending on how ingrained it is into your mind, it could take one day to shift, or it could take years and years to shift. But either way, if you put the effort in, because like I said earlier, time's irrelevant, it's going to pass anyways, why not have it pass with positive thoughts and an optimistic view on the life that you are leading? Let's see, June 19th. There's a lot of them in June, probably because it's Gemini month. Today I have an excellent concentration. I am relaxed and alert and experience life in a joyful way. I get in my head a lot and start to daydream. It's usually got some sort of disempowerment dynamic slant to it, where I'll daydream that somebody needs saving or somebody needs taught how to dance, and all of a sudden I'm like the best choreographer in the world. I don't even know why I have some of the daydreams that I have, but a lot of them tend to be me stepping into more of like this heroic role. And so I put a lot of energy into getting myself refocused. I'll listen to binaural beats, these brainwave sounds that help me stay focused. I will do meditation. Not always great at it, but I'm definitely learning to put more attention toward it, and to increase my concentration so I don't go off into daydream land all the time, because I love daydream land. Love it. June 17th, today I give myself permission to do whatever gives me the most pleasure. Right? Sometimes we just need to stop and take a breath and realize that life isn't a grind. It doesn't have to be a grind. We can choose to see it as this beautiful slide, this beautiful ride where there are ebbs and flows, but it's not a grind. It's just beautiful and it's amazing and it is whatever it is. And you have this opportunity to see it in a pleasurable way. You have this opportunity to stop and eat food slower and really enjoy the flavor. Listen to your favorite song on repeat 400 times if that's what you want, right? Find things that give you pleasure and then make sure you're bringing those into your life. When we got sober, so many things that we were doing, we always did intoxicated. And now all of a sudden going bowling or going hiking or going to the mall or going to an amusement park or a baseball game or a football game, some sort of event, it's like, wow, alcohol and drugs don't get to be present anymore. How will I ever enjoy that again? In fact, I would argue that, or debate, or at least bring another point of view out, that were you ever really enjoying it as much as you thought? Or were you constantly sitting there looking at your beer cup, being like, oh, I'm almost done, got to go wait in line, and then you miss your favorite song at the concert? Wednesday, June 16th, no job is beneath me or above me. If a job needs doing, I do it. This is really awesome for me to remind myself because I still put in a little bit of time at my old hospitality gig that I had pre-pandemic. And I still very much enjoy going in there and bartending and being a part of that environment, being able to enjoy the external motivation of helping people out, letting them know where the coolest sites are, making sure they get fed and they get some drinks, right? Like I really enjoy doing that. And it reminds me that, there's not a part of me that says, nope, I'm 100% a coach and I'm 100% a speaker and I will not do anything that's not coach or speaker related because that's it. This is what I do now. Like, no, I'm not. I am an entrepreneur. Right? I am someone who has created a business out of something that I have great amounts of passion and purpose in, and I seek to grow myself beyond any limitations I might previously thought I had or previously felt I had. And absolutely, I realize that there is no job beneath me. If somebody says, hey, would you volunteer? We need somebody to scoop up elephant poop off the side of the Los Angeles River. I'm like, okay, hey, I don't think there should be a bunch of elephant poop by the Los Angeles River. Let's go clean it up, right? Like, it's not beneath me, right? Cleaning a toilet isn't beneath me. Doing dishes isn't beneath me. Cleaning out my garage isn't beneath me. Tutoring my niece in math. None of these things are beneath me, right? I don't think I'm better or worse than anyone. I'm unique in my own way, but I am not better than anyone. I definitely don't think I'm worse or less than anyone else, right? We live in a world where you put effort in, you get benefits out, right? You put effort into something, you get your tide rises. You lift yourself up when you do good, whether it's for yourself or for others. So step into a place where it's like, I've talked to some entrepreneurs like, dude, for the first 4 or 5 years, it was tough going. But you know what? I never said no to a speaking gig. I never said no to a coaching opportunity. I never said no. And in some cases, I was driving for Uber Eats or I was going out on the weekends and mowing lawns. It's like whatever it took to make sure I could continue pursuing what it was I knew I was put on this planet to do. I would like for you to start to take on that same attitude. Nothing is beneath you. When you say no to an opportunity to grow, you should think of that as being a beneath you moment in your life, and you should flip it. Instead, say yes, I will be a part of that. Now, of course, small little sidebar. If your time, you got to think about time, you got to think about energy, you got to think about money, you got to think about people. Yes, if somebody's like, hey, we need you to be a drug mule and you can make $1 million, don't do that. Have some morals, ethics, and values around this, okay? You figure out the best way for you. You don't have to say yes to everything. Just understand why you're saying no. Let's see what else we have. I attract empowered friends who are always trying to improve themselves. I would think that was one of the beautiful things that I discovered with this podcast was that it really does, especially once you get this high up in the episodes, The people who've made it this far really are the ones who just seem to really want to embrace empowerment. They really want to embrace the best version of themselves. And I want to attract people like that. I want there to be those kind of people in my tribe. I want there to be those kind of people's energy in my life. I may not even know you. I may not even necessarily ever even hear from you. You may never write. You may never call. We may never actually talk. But what's important is that you exist and your energy is in this show. And whether I realize it or not, you are providing me with my own energetic spark to continue to grow. Right? Whether an episode gets 500 downloads or 5,000 downloads, it doesn't necessarily tell me that one episode was better or worse than the other, as much as it just says, hey, that's 500 people who decided that what I had to say is important and it's helping their life. That's amazing. I want to be more a part of that. I want people in my energetic field that are actively pursuing the best version of themselves. So when I attract empowered friends who are always trying to improve themselves, I have to ask, where are there places in my life where people aren't behaving that way? And is this really the kind of person that I want in my life? Right? I want people who want to step into empowerment, who want to be their own creator, right? Who want to find their mentors and the coaches and the sponsors who will guide them to a better sense of self, right? Who see somebody who doesn't agree with them as not as a villain or a bully, but instead as a challenger that just gets them to expand their previous way of thinking. I want empowered people in my life. I want people who are seeking empowerment to be in my life. Again, 122 episodes. By now, you absolutely have begun to step into and probably far exceeded even your expectations of what you could step into when we discuss empowerment and creation and the power of positive energy and being that person who moves beyond the limitations that they thought they had. We lived in a life of addiction for so long, limitations just seemed to be the way that it was. It's like we were in a prison and we were locked inside this box with these bars. So rarely did we ever even get to go out into the yard. And then all of a sudden, we find ourselves out in the free world, being able to experience life not through bars, but now just a clear-eyed view, a clear mind, a clear heart. That's what sobriety brings us. That's what addiction recovery allows us to open ourselves up to. There are so many beautiful, beautiful, beautiful ways that you can see the world around you. Just like there are so many ways you can choose that you are choosing to see it through the dark, dimmed out glasses. Rose-colored glasses, dark, dimmed out glasses. Either way, it's your choice. Step into that empowerment. Step into that best sense of self. Ask yourself, where can you begin to increase your own personal growth so that not only are you bettering your life, but you're bettering the life of every person around you. And again, I've said it before, I'll say it again and again and again. We're all human. We all make little slip-ups. We all do things that we're not necessarily proud of. Release guilt, release shame, and instead learn from that behavior, learn from that action, and then absolutely choose to think about it differently moving forward. You are always in charge of your mind, therefore you're in charge of your results. Choose to think of it differently. Choose to feel about it differently, and that will change your actions. As always, it is an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to have you here. If you would like more information about the winning formula, the Happy Mind Lab, go to From Sobriety to Recovery or Jesse Mogul on Instagram. The very first link will be the very first link in my bio link will be a link. I love the word link, apparently. There will be a link to our Voxer channel where you can actually join for free our winning formula conversation, our winning formula tribe, and you guys can get yourself some hot seat coaching if you're down, whatever it is. I talked about this at the beginning of the show, so I'm not going to dive into it too much now. If you are ready to challenge yourself, if you're ready to move through resistance, if you're ready to release self-sabotaging behaviors, and you're absolutely positively ready to bring other people onto your team to help guide you to this place, then I am offering my services. Raise your hand, step forward, I will call on you. Want to learn some NLP? I've got like 5 different ways I can make that happen in your life. If you want to talk like me, if you want to be able to think like more like me, not that I know everything, not that I'm all the best and nobody should be listened to other than me, right? I just like to offer you the opportunity to begin to internalize your world in the way you hear me talk about me internalizing my world. And I promise you, what you send back out into the universe will come back to you 1 trillion infinity fold. Love you all. Be amazing. Inclusivity over exclusivity. The power of positive energy. Release and flow. Now you know why I say that. As always, shout out to Sunshine. Glow on. Oop, almost forgot my other one. I've got 5 things I say at the end of each show, and all of them are important to me. But this one I really, really do love. Every day is the best day of my life because I wake up sober. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.